Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Retired Living True series, and today's topic, the truth about we to me, what no one tells you about losing a spouse. So, my name's Brett Janelle, by the way, and my partner and wife, Annette, is at the back, and we have some new team members, and I'll talk about that later, and then we have all of our education partners that you met as we came in. But just to help me, I just want to get a feel or a sense of the room. Who was here last year, just by a show of hands, when we did We to Me and we had 3 ladies on the panel? Okay, so maybe about a third to a half of the room? Okay. And then I'm also just curious, who is here today as a partnership, a couple, and that you're here to hopefully learn what life might look like when that day comes when you lose your spouse? Is there anyone here for that reason? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And do we have any widows here? Someone who has lost someone recently or in the past? Yeah, so another good amount of people. So thank you for being honest and having the courage. I know that can be challenging. So part of our goal today, or why this topic matters so much, is that all of us, or most of us, are going to be impacted in some way with the loss of someone we know, a loved one, possibly a spouse, an adult child, a parent, a grandparent. So this topic kind of touches us all in different ways, but I think it's really important because does anyone like talking about death? No. It's kind of almost a taboo topic, isn't it? We just don't want to deal with it. We'd rather put our heads in the sand and just not face the reality of life that we all have a mortality date. Yeah, we're not all going to be here forever. So today is an opportunity for us all to talk honestly and think about this challenging topic of going from we to me. And this is going to be a tough topic for me today. I've prepared really well with our panelists, but yeah, as I think about this and I think about my beautiful wife back there, I'm going to need some tissues. But I just want to be clear who this seminar is for. So it is for us who are in a relationship and to be better prepared when we do lose someone, because there are things we can do in advance. It's also for the adult children who might be here in the room so they can be better prepared when they lose a parent. And it's also for those of us here who are a widow, so maybe if we're struggling, there's some resources here and we can hear from our panelists how they've overcome some of the challenges of losing a loved one. I also want to just talk a little bit for a moment before I have my panelists come up, is when we lose a spouse, sometimes in our experience, helping lots of people in our real estate and our move management business, is there's confusion around the house and whether we should stay where we are or sell the house. And our team walk alongside many widows who are dealing with that. And just some words of wisdom is don't rush into any decisions. Unless you've pre-decided well in advance of losing a partner that you're going to do a certain thing, give it time, give it 12 months. Because we find that sometimes the loneliness in the house or the maintenance, what to do with the stuff, or the memories in the house cause people to make a decision too hastily, too quickly. So just give it time. There's a grieving process because you might already be in the best place. You may not. But as you'll hear from some of our panelists, it's kind of a process to go through, talk to them, talk to friends, talk to our team, just so you're not making a rush decision and you're making the best possible decision if you are deciding to make a move for what that is worth. So I have 3 gentlemen who are going to come up and join me here on stage that I've got to know reasonably well over the last few weeks, and I really just want to acknowledge them for being so courageous and honest with me in terms of their experiences, because this is a tough topic, and they had the grace to give me a lot of time to understand their situations and their experiences. And I think you're going to find it very insightful and helpful what they have to share in terms of what they've been through from their experience. So we need to give them a round of applause for actually being here. Tom, Bill, and David, thank you. Thanks, Kayla. So yeah, please take a seat, guys. If I could start with you, Tom, once we get your mic. Yeah. Can I have you introduce yourself, who you are, and just tell us a little bit about yourself to get started.
Certainly. I'm Tom McDonald. Grew up in California. Moved around quite a bit with United Airlines. I was in ground management when I was younger. We then moved to Reno, and we were in the Del Webb section of Somerset. I waited to take my Social Security, so it was a good amount of money. So I don't have to work, but I like to, so I do. And that provides extra money for travel, going to concerts. I play golf, jigsaw puzzles. Doesn't cost that much money, does it? I go someplace nearly every month, and I got back recently from a trip from Amsterdam to Budapest.
Nice. I didn't get an invite.
Well, the river's low. We had to change boats 3 or 4 times, so it wasn't perfect.
Wasn't perfect.
There's no cruise that's bad.
Yeah, I know you had a lot of fun and enjoyed it. Yeah. Bill.
Hello, my name is Bill Papa. I moved to Reno in the year 2000, and before that, my wife and I had both lived in Texas, Indiana, Arizona, California, and Washington, and we moved quite frequently, and we're very, very happy here. Our weather is wonderful, even though it's heating up a little bit. From what I see in the rest of the country, we're still being protected by our mountains to the west. My hobbies are music. I've loved music all my life. I started to play ukulele when I was 5. And then, of course, in my adult life, I just, your music goes aside. And then in retirement, I've taken up giving ukulele lessons at Ollie, which ended up being very convenient because when my wife passed away...
Can you just hold your mic a little closer, Bill?
When my wife passed away, I had the opportunity to use that and become involved in society, meet people, and volunteer and many other things. And I still do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. David, a little bit about yourself and who you are.
My name is David Scott, and I grew up on a ranch, northeastern Oregon. And after...
A little closer, David.
After high school, I joined the Navy. Later on, I went back to school, thanks to my folks helping me back up in Eastern Oregon, and became an electronics engineer, and that's when I met the love of my life. Her name was Lynette. In between us, we had 3 children. We moved here in April of 1999, and all 3 of them followed us here within 5 years. They're still here, along with 1 grandson. And we live in Spanish Springs. Moved here in April 3rd, 1999, in a snowstorm. From Washington State, no snow shovel. Went to Home Depot. Well, we shipped those out last month. So, welcome to Nevada.
I think a few of us can probably relate to that, moving in a snowstorm and Home Depot, Lowe's being out of snow shovels. And yeah. So, David, tell us, how long were you married to Lynette for?
Yeah, so we were partners, and we started in 1974. We were both single parents. We blended our families at Thanksgiving, and we got married a year and a half later, 1976. So it was 49 years that we were married.
49 years, a long time. Yeah. And when did Lynette pass away?
She married. She passed away in May 20th last year, 2025. Very sudden, very unexpectedly, and she hardly ever became ill. I mean, last time she was ill, 2015. She had her gallbladder removed. Never got the flu, never got cold, never got COVID, and I got all those things.
And you shared with me that you thought you would be the one who would pass away first, correct?
Correct, yeah, because because she didn't get ill, and it was a concern because she contracted dementia. And so we talked a lot about me passing away, but never about her passing away. So it was completely unprepared for that situation. And the cause, they said it was septic shock, which is body's overreaction to an infection, but they couldn't find the infection before she passed away, and it was an ER. And yeah, so I mentioned that. It was,
Thank you, David, for sharing that. So that's still pretty raw, obviously, for David. It's only been like a year. So I'll come back to you, David. So, Bill, how long were you married? And tell us a little bit about your wife, about Helen.
My wife and I met in college, and we really got married in the year that we graduated from college, which was 1967, 68. We were married 50 years. Helen had developed COPD in the last 7 years of her life. And for the last 7 years, it was a downhill struggle with oxygen, and until she passed away in 2017, which was 9.5 years ago. Okay, so I have at least, thank God, memories do fade a bit, right, as they say in the song. But we were very happy. We were very compatible. One of the things that happens when you lose half is that there are certain things that you're not very good at all. And you'd always get an arm like this, as no, that's too much, or this and that. And you end up missing the part that made you whole. And that's something we learn to cope with as we go down this road.
I'm just curious, did you both think that Helen would pass first, or did you think you would pass first? Had you ever talked about or given any thought to that?
We always avoided talk of death. We never talked about it. And that's one thing I think I would suggest to anyone when your partner is ill, is to sit down and talk about death, and talk about what they would like to happen after their death, and what they would like to happen to you, to maybe cut you some, so at least when you decided to take other routes, or to either get out in the community and meet other people, it's good to have the words when you need them after.
Thank you. Tom, tell us a little bit about Betsy. How long you guys were married for?
We were together for 30 years. We met while I was working at Wells Fargo in Pebble Beach, and she had a friend that she called a player. She dated sports figures and such. So they would go to Pebble Beach to hang out at Club 19 and hopefully meet a rich person. If you're going to meet somebody and you're going to, why not meet a rich person to be with? I mean, what seems like a good plan to me.
Is everyone familiar with hole 19 in golf? For any non-golfers? Yeah, there's 18 holes in golf, the 19th one's the bar.
Yeah. It's a bar right there at Pebble Beach Golf Course. And so at Wells Fargo, if you had an account, you would get a pass to come into the Pebble Beach area. Otherwise, it cost you money to get in. So she met me because I opened her accounts, and I guess that part of the plan didn't work out for her. We'd both been married before. She had an adult son, and I've got 2 adult boys. Her death was sudden. It was last April 20th, which was Easter last year.
Yeah, so just recently, pretty raw too. And you said it was sudden. Can I ask what happened with Betsy?
Well, technically she fell off a horse. She'd been riding it all her life, so she knows how to fall off a horse. She had high blood pressure. Based on the injuries she suffered, she broke her tailbone and then cracked her head. I see her having a stroke, probably sitting on the horse, and was unconscious and finally just slipped off backside first. And I'm thinking it's a massive stroke. She wasn't breathing when they found her.
Thank you, Tom. So yeah, sudden something can happen to any of us. A fall, we hit our head, and life changes in an instant. So Tom, what would you say has been the most difficult thing for you going from being a we, you and Betsy, to now being a me, just you?
I'd say some things that might be typical for a guy weren't really a big issue for me. I'd made my own meals, did my laundry, I handled the finances. She didn't do much that I needed to learn from scratch. The biggest issue was that in 2012, her dad passed away, and she was left with something over $1 million. Her parents knew that she wasn't too good with money, so they had that set up as an annuity that came to her monthly, which was $8,400. She spent that every single month. About half of that went to her horses. She had bought a quarter horse and later a Mustang. She trained him. She was very good with the horses. And so some of the money went to boarding, vets, feed, hay, a truck and trailer, that sort of thing. But then with the other ballpark $500,000, she bought stuff. And probably 80% of that was clothes. I estimate we've probably still have in the neighborhood of 10,000 items of clothing and accessories.
Still have?
Still have. I've gotten rid of a small amount. There's other things I have taken care of, just other things around the house, but that's the biggest issue. She had a storage unit that was 10 foot by 30 foot that was stuffed. It was only recently that I finally emptied it out and stopped paying $260 a month. So what was left in there, the last of it's taken up half of the garage. The clothes are in bins that fill up both sides of the garage, corners. Her closet is still stuffed. And most of the stuff, I'll say at least 80% of it is unworn. Much of it has tags or is still in baggies that it was shipped in. So I'm still working on trying to find ways to market that. Conceivably I could just give it away and get it off my back, but I like to capture some of the money. There's a lot of money into it. I just tripped across a place called Clothes Mentor, which is not too far from here, and in fact I'm going to, for the first time, drop off a couple of bags of stuff and see what happens.
Thank you, Tom. So yeah, practically you're still dealing with that. What about the emotional loneliness?
That's been somewhat difficult. We did a lot of things by ourselves, and I would encourage people to find ways to do some things by themselves, because she was focused on her horses, so a lot of times she was out with her horses. I still work, but it's not hard work, so I was at home alone. And so I found myself doing lots of other things on my own. I'd go to the movies once a week. I even had scheduled a trip to Washington, D.C. Well before she died, but she didn't want to go, and it was scheduled for a few weeks after she ended up dying, so I went anyway. So I've been traveling on my own. It's not perfect. I kind of like some companionship. But we did a lot of things on our own, so if I'd asked her to go to lunch or to go on vacation, it was always a yes. But most other things she would just as well not have, and she would hang out with her horses or read. She did a lot of reading. So the transition there wasn't as difficult as it might have been for Bill and David, but it's still not easy.
Thank you, Tom. So Bill, same question. What was the hardest thing for you going from we to me, both practically and emotionally? How did life change? Take your time.
Yeah.
And just hold your mic a little closer.
Okay. The hardest was the empty house. So when you deal with that, you have to make yourself do things that you don't want to do. And the sooner you learn that, the better. So I think, geez, I didn't think this would happen. The first thing you do, the first thing that I did was you just start writing. Write things down. Write whatever you want to write. And I think I read something for at least 4 days. Write down anything you want. Just clean your mind with words. And at the end, you start to make sense out of what it is you're trying to say. And what it ends up you're trying to say is that you need to get off the crybaby business and get back to life, because you know that that's what you want. And then you have to figure out how to do it. And if you keep writing, you will find it. But I found out that the hardest thing is to volunteer. Where do you go? What do you do? How do you do it? You start asking around and you start looking, and I noticed that a lot of times now that there are volunteer things that you could get on and you could sign up for. And I tried those, and it must have been when it was early, because I got very few responses from that kind of stuff. It really did. And that was a long time ago, and I'm sure things are better now. But what I was lucky enough to find out, I found an organization called RSVP, which is here today. And what they did at that time is they had an interview. And so we interviewed, and they found out what my abilities were and what my likes were. And they set me up with appointments. And I don't know where that came from. First thing I did was Meals on Wheels. Loved it. Did it for 4.5 years, 5 years. And the nice thing about Meals on Wheels is it got me out. All of a sudden, I had 30 friends. 30 friends I saw once a week. It was very good. And then there were other things. There were music. I've always been involved in music, so I started to do some musical things, one after another. And one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. And eventually, time goes by, and you're not sitting in the house. I thought there for a while that what I should do is write a book called What Am I Going to Do on Monday Morning? Because Monday morning, we all want to have something to get up for and do, and that's what you have to do. You have to get off, and you have to start doing. And if you do good for someone else, it makes it a lot easier for you to get over it.
Thank you, Bill. So when you were struggling initially, shortly after Helen had passed, do you recall what you shared with me in terms of the first person you went and spoke to that kind of pointed you in the direction?
Yeah, I had a GP that had graduated from UNR. He'd been here for many years, and unfortunately his name escapes me. And when I told him my wife passed away, he said, there's 2 things you have to do. And that was really important. One is you have to do something social once a week. You have to get out and do something social once a week. And the second is you can't stay in your head for more than an hour.
What do you mean by that? Can't stay in your head?
I mean, when you go to a dark place and let your mind stay there, then you're going to continue to be in a dark place. And you have to force yourself to go to a happy place. And what I had learned is that when that happens, is that you think of the things that you love. I love rivers. I love to fish. I love lakes. I love the ocean. I love children. So when you get really down and dirty, just think about one of those things. And the mind is a wonderful thing, because if you ask it to change the subject, it'll do it. You don't think it will, but it will. And so that'll bring you out of that and make you do something positive.
Thank you. So David, let's talk about what it looked like or felt like for you, going from being a we, you and Lynette, to being a me, just yourself. What were the hardest things, both practically and emotionally, for you?
Yeah, so practically, it wasn't a lot of things that changed because of her dementia. I already started doing, she was She was probably the most well-organized person I ever met, and she was the glue that held our family together. And but with her dementia, she gradually started losing her organization skills. So I had to take over the bill paying and the grocery shopping and the housekeeping, none of which I did anywhere near as good as she did. And so that wasn't much of a change at all doing that. But the biggest impact it had on me was my lack of sleep. I mean, I went from 8 hours sleep a day to 4 hours. And it was just,
David, just hold a little closer. Thank you.
Not having her there, when in the bed with you and waking up, she was my, not only my wife, she was my soulmate, my best friend, my lover. And we did a lot of things together. And so loneliness was a real factor. And I missed just watching television together. I mean, I can't watch the same programs we watched because it was, when we watched something, it was interactive. And her long-term memory was still spot on. We'd watch Wheel of Fortune, and she'd solve those word puzzles faster than I would. And watch Price is Right, and of course we'd all complain about people paying $2,000 for a purse or something. But
A little closer, David.
then, the other thing I missed was traveling in our RV. She didn't like to fly, so we did a lot of traveling by RV, and really look forward going to the Oregon coast in September. And just, I went camping one time after she did, and it just wasn't the same. So I don't watch the same programs, and I don't go camping anymore. So I'm selling it.
So David, you said you were stuck, just like probably all of us when we lose someone. And Bill, you had your GP who helped give you some direction. You shared with me where your marching orders came from, that thing that caused you to know you needed to move forward. Do you mind sharing that with the audience, what it was?
Yeah, so one of the hardest things for me was going through her stuff. And one of the last things I did was go through her wallet. And I found something there that was, I didn't know was there. And because of her dementia, I was in her wallet quite a bit, helping her find her ID or insurance card. And it was an old wallet, and it was all falling apart, and rubber band together, and so she had this poem in there. We never talked about it. So it's called Miss Me But Let Me Go. Miss Me But Let Me Go.
This is in your handout. David kindly provided a copy for everybody.
Yeah, when I come to the end of the road and the sun is set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you're lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go.
So I'm going to come back to you in a moment, David. So, Tom, any other changes that you made?
Some of the changes had been made some time back. I don't know if it was the money, the death of her parents, or what, but she had changed. Recently, a friend of her best friend had told me the same thing. We used to have Miatas, and we'd go on runs all the time. We'd go all over the place doing things. And then when the money came or her parents died or something happened, she got back into their horses. And so that was probably the point where I had to change the most, because we weren't doing all the things together that we had been doing. So I found at that time that if I didn't do something, I'd just sit around and watch TV or read or something. So I started making sure that I did things. And so that's carried through. I go to the movies probably once a week. I travel. I try to go someplace every couple of months. I have a high school reunion coming up. I go to Boomtown probably once a week. They have a singer there that I really like. I try to go to concerts. A lot of the casinos will offer a weekend getaway, which I'll take. So a lot of things haven't changed, except they did way back when. And so I guess I would encourage people to find ways to keep doing stuff if something happens to your partner, rather than just sitting around moping.
Thank you. Bill, when we were talking, you had mentioned to me about decisions, that you and Helen would always make decisions together, and that became a challenge after losing Helen. Can you just share a little bit about that?
She was the smart one.
Your microphone, so we can...
She was the smart one.
Just a little closer, Bill.
She was the smart one. She was the garage sale queen. I think I still have tons of garage sale furniture in the house. I love it. And of course, you can't replace it because they don't make stuff that well anymore. The thing is, when you're a pair, it's always great to hear the other side. And so we didn't necessarily think the same. And that was the best thing that happened to us. In that one would think one way and one would think in the other, and then it was easier to stay straight. And I missed that. I decided to start remodeling the house, and I had about 3 or 4 starts. I could never figure out the colors. Just couldn't. Finally, I had someone else give me the colors, and I just said, run with it. But it was, I missed her for a lot of the things. Because she was the one that brought confidence to the decision. And that's a hard thing to replace.
Yeah, so you lost confidence in making decisions because you didn't have your right-hand person.
That's right. Because as soon as she said that was fine, then I could run.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
So what have you done since, though? Because obviously we still have to make decisions in life.
Oh, well, I haven't really made too many serious decisions. I have financial managers that help me with that. I don't really make, the decisions you make when you have children, the decisions you have to make about their education, about cars, and about all that, how you live, how you save your money. Those are important decisions, and usually it takes a couple to keep a marriage together. We've always said that you have to agree on what you do with children, and you have to agree with what you do with money, and that's the things that I miss the most.
But I think one thing you just said, though, is we might lose confidence in decisions, but then we surround ourselves with people that can help. Someone to choose the help with the collar scheme, the financial advisor.
Yes, absolutely.
So we need to rely on other people.
Yes, yeah. Yes, you need. You just need to ask people and surround yourself with people that you respect, that will give you the truth.
Thank you. So, David, when we spoke shortly after Lynette's passing, you were dealing with loneliness, and then you made the decision to make a move. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why and what that looked like?
Yeah, so she passed away in May last year, and by July I was really getting tired of the one-way conversations I was having. And so first thought in my mind, well, I heard of assisted living places. Well, maybe I could go there and meet some friends and stay there for a while, get through this. So I went to Brookdale Assisted Living on the corner of Prater and Vista. I went in there and get out of here. Go next door. That's where the independent living facility community is. And so I went over there and I moved in there, and of course immediately talking to this one gentleman there, and it was a one-way conversation the other way. But I'm glad I did, because I met a lot of new friends, and I still have those friends. And I moved out just before Thanksgiving. I still go back, usually have dinner 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Saves me from having to cook. Plus, I have, and the conversations are real important to me. I guess it just amazes me at the diversity and the backgrounds of all the people that you can come in contact with that, I have no way of experiencing, but I'm experiencing them through their lives. I just lifts my spirit. And
So you kept your home, moved into a senior living community because you were lonely, built a circle of friends, and then when you felt comfortable, moved back to home.
yes.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was amazing. What a great way to, if you don't know a lot of people because they'd moved here to a new area, what a great way to, have socialization. And it was just temporary, and now you're back home again.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have to thank my 3 children for helping me, because they simplified the house for me. So,
What do you mean by that they simplified the house?
well, there's a lot less. Well, I essentially live in the kitchen, kitchen, the family room, master bedroom, and my office. And then there's other bedrooms and stuff. And so essentially we got rid of all the stuff, less things, and now it's mine. It's pretty Spartan, which I like it simplified. I simplified a lot of my life, so I have the same breakfast, I have the same lunch, I just have the same dinner, because I know what to buy, and I know how to fix it, and I get it done. And so it's my house now, I'm comfortable there. And
So they helped with some of Lynette's things too, so it wasn't all on you?
yeah, that was very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
And part of her orders was not only the friends, but to do good deeds. And so she was probably one of the most compassionate persons I ever met. She always felt and did something about people on the lower economic rung. And we donated to the food bank for years, and so after she passed, I said, well, I should probably volunteer. So I started volunteering at the food bank, and did similar to Bill here, that it wasn't Meals on Wheels, but it's delivering the food, unprepared food, to the shut-ins, senior shut-ins, and I enjoy that a lot. And then I've also got more involved with the VA. One of the persons I met at Brookdale, he was a veteran, terminal cancer, going to the VA almost every day to get chemotherapy, infusions, but he was just upbeat and happy, and just He always wore a hat. He always wore a hat. And so after he passed away, and after Christmas, I thought, well, maybe I'll start wearing a hat. Maybe some magic, because I have terminal cancer also. And so I hope to be, when I get to that point, that I can be as upbeat and happy as it is. And plus that, I put an application in to volunteer at the VA. And so I'm going there now as a friendly visitor. I guess I'm friendly because I'm not carrying needles in there with me or something.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Tom, what are you grateful for that others did to make the loss a little less painful, if that's possible, less challenging?
On the day that she died, my sister came up from Elk Grove. Oh, before I go too further, I wanted to mention something because of the way things happened. When I was notified that she was going to the hospital, for some reason I grabbed the estate plan. And that was very important because in there was a lot of documents that the hospital turned out needing. I left it in the car when I went in. I didn't know how serious things were, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Also then, she was injured on a Saturday and then died on Sunday. So my sister came up the day that she was injured. Her best friend from the Napa Valley Horsemen's came up the very next day. Our neighbors across the street, from the day we moved in, had always been very supportive, looked out for us, took care of things, and so they were there to help me as part of some of the transition. The barn manager helped with doing something with the horses and the tack and some of the other stuff that, the feed that would have been wasted otherwise, that sort of thing. I have a couple friends that were here already, and part of the reason I moved here, she had a lot of jewelry. She had a gemology degree. So when I say like a lot of jewelry, think a lot of clothes, a lot of jewelry. So they've helped me kind of sort through that and identifying what's gold, what's silver, what's precious stones, and then the costume jewelry, and some of the costume jewelry, what's worth looking at a little closer. So I've had a number of different people who have offered to step in, and when they've offered, I've accepted their help. I haven't said, oh, I can take care of it. I've appreciated the help of others.
So I think that's a good little bit of advice, accept people's help, not that you can do it all on your own. Thank you, Tom. So, David, could you tell us a little bit about, in dealing with the grief, you found a resource that was very helpful to you. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if you ever heard of there's a series on Apple TV called Shrinking. It's Harrison Ford plays the lead therapist in this. It's a group of therapists, and it's many a comedy, but one thing they said in there that really struck home for me, he was counseling a teenage daughter of one of the other therapists who lost her mother in an automobile accident, and he said, just set 15 minutes aside where you can yell and cry and listen to music, just dedicated to you. So when for her celebration of life, I put together a slideshow of her life, photos. And so I've modified that and modified the music, made it more personal. So I set aside a time every night, it takes about a half hour, and I sing to her, and that's my time with her. Because we used to sing together. We'd do car karaoke, but we'd have the windows up. Else we'd probably become a nuisance to the neighborhood or something. And other things that helped me is therapy. I had a therapist, well, through cancer care specialist for my cancer, but she also helped me on dealings with my feelings about my wife, on some guilty feelings I was having. She suggested writing a letter to her, explaining the reason, and then she suggested burning it. So I did that, and then I put that in an envelope and put it in her urn with her other ashes. But by doing that, it made me realize, even though something I was sorry about and did, that it made me appreciate her more at that time and made our relationship stronger. So that was also very helpful for me.
You also mentioned you joined a grief support group.
Yes, that's correct. So
How and who? How did that come about?
yeah, so in ER, after she passed away, they had a social worker there, and they gave me a list of grief support groups, and the one that I chose was Circle of Life, hospice, and it's a safe place to go to express what you're feeling, and you don't have to talk. Like again, it's a safe place. You can just be there to listen and hear the different struggles that people have gone through, but also the solutions that they're working on and trying to overcome the grief. And I also like sharing my experiences in that environment also. And two of my children accompanied me a couple of times, and so I found that very helpful.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. So, Bill, what are you grateful for the others that did to help, to make it maybe a little less painful, to help with some of the challenges?
Well, volunteering, I think, is the big thing for me, in that makes you feel good about what you're doing, and you meet all the very nice people that are, in many cases, having a lot of problems themselves. I just enjoy. I did some substituting in the St. Vincent's Soup Kitchen. Found it to be a wonderful place. When I worked at Meals on Wheels on 9th Street, they had 20 people working in the kitchen that I don't believe could have got a job anywhere else.
And you were one of them.
And I was one of them. When I would come back from a route, if I had a milk or I had something that I had to put back, and I just wanted to put it somewhere so I could go home quick, oh boy, I tell you, they'd get right on me. And it just tickled me to death to be working with those people. And so if you do that, you'll appreciate what you're doing.
Can you talk about your wingman?
My what?
Wingman.
Wingman. Oh, yeah. I had a neighbor that was from Sweden, just from Switzerland. And I had been, Helen had passed for 2 or 3 years, and I was pretty much stuck at home. And so he asked me to go out with him and his wife to party. And oh boy, could he party. And so what was so nice about it is all of a sudden I was at a place with people, and people were having a good time, and he'd say, "You see those gals over there?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "They'd love to meet you." So I'd go meet him. So a wingman is great because when you're by yourself, you're just so self-conscious about eating it at a restaurant. Oh, it's terrible to eat at a restaurant when you're all alone. But and here's just something that just happened at the dog park. I go to the puppy park. I find a lot of people have the same thing. They're single, have their pet. So we've decided to have a group, a Facebook group or some kind of group, message group, and it's called Our Gang. And we just started it up, and so that if you get enough people in there, somebody has an idea that wants to go somewhere, and then somebody says, I'm coming with you. What an idea. And you could start your own, right? Just learn how to do it. There's somebody that does it in our group. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. But I know what I like, right? Yeah, so.
So you were grateful for your neighbour, your wingman reaching out to you, but you said
yes.
your regret was that didn't happen sooner.
Yes, yes. And and again, when you don't have anything to do on Monday morning, find a friend that to go with you, even if it's someone that's in the exact same boat that you're in. It's just something about it. You just get out, do things, meet people, listen to them, talk to them. Next thing you know, you're having a good time.
And you said people were reluctant to reach out to you because you were grieving, so then you were lonely and on your own.
Yes.
In fact, you wanted the opposite. You would have appreciated people
Right.
involving you.
Right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. 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 Anyway.
So for those who haven't experienced it, if you know someone who's just gone through loss, don't feel bad reaching out. That's probably what they need, is for us to reach out to them and try to involve them in things to get them engaged, even though it's painful. Yeah. Tom, you had something.
I was just going to say, when we have dogs, guys, know that dogs are a chick magnet.
Dogs are a chick magnet, for anyone who didn't catch that. Thank you, Tom. So, David, what did you regret that people did say or perhaps didn't say that made it harder or to adjust or grieve? Is there anything that wasn't helpful that people said to you after Lynette had passed that you wish they hadn't? Or you wish they had said?
I guess there was one person in this community I moved into, and his response was, well, you just need to get over it and get on with your life. And what I found through the grief support group was that, that grief is personal. There's no standard timeline for grieving. And even though in that poem it says, miss me a little but not too long, I don't know how to do that. And I don't want to do that. Because I have two, I figure I have a hole in my heart and a hole in my soul. And my friends that I've met and stuff and the volunteering, that fills the hole in my heart. But the hole in my soul is there forever. Because I am who I am today because of her.
Thank you, David. Bill, what advice would you give to others, whether it's male or female, so they might be better prepared upon losing a spouse? Is there anything we can do in advance, knowing that one of us is probably going to pass before the other, and we don't know which?
You have to. Well, when you're living with someone that's ill health, you have to prepare yourself mentally to go through what you have to go through. And so I went and saw a counselor. And your counselor will give you very good advice about how to prepare yourself to get ready for the tougher things in life. And one of the things that a lot of people have happen in their past is a parent dies or something dies, and they're traumatized to the point that they can't deal with death. So I went to this particular counselor, and he said, well, he said, when that happened to you, you were a little boy. I'll say it. But you're a man now, and you can help that little boy. And that'll do it.
Thank you. David, what advice would you give to couples that might be sitting here, or widows, in terms of being either better prepared or dealing with the loss of a spouse? Do you have any words of wisdom?
I talked about it a little bit before, that, wished we'd talked about her passing first before me. And need to look at my notes. So I think we should be discussing that before the event happens, for both of you can be prepared for it. And I know Tom has more to say about this from a document standpoint. Just since she had dementia, I'd had to do a lot of talking for her, call up on the telephone, and they have to get her permission for me to talk to them. So I thought, well, probably should be getting a power of attorney. And so I sat down and talked with her about it. And her eyes got wide open. She said, "You're going to lock me up." And she was pissed. And she, because of dementia, she didn't drive much, but she drives a mailbox, so she decided to go get the mail right there. I don't know why, but she went there, and I thought I better go out and check on her. So I sat in the garage, and she's coming back at a higher rate of speed, looking directly at me. So I better get out of the way. So I never brought that subject up again. And so and so there's I'm going to talk about the metaphor of the hot stove.
Let me come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me jump to you, Tom, because you had some advice that you would like to give the audience in terms of how to be better prepared, because you're highly organised and you did put some thought into, for whatever reason, you were lucky to be more prepared than probably a lot of people are. So,
True.
So that same question, what advice would you give people where it's a couple, how they could be better prepared for the eventual loss, how Annette and I could be better prepared for one of us passing?
Betsy thought that I would be the first to go. I wasn't in agreement. But statistically, that made sense. So I did a lot of preparation. The first thing that comes to mind is the estate plan. So if you don't have one, get one. If it's been a few years since it's been looked at, take a look, have it maybe revised. We had revised ours about 1.5 years before she died. And it was really good because one of the things that was in there was what should happen if something happens to a person and they can't make decisions on their own. And in her particular situation, one of the sheets, we had like 5 different scenarios, and one of the sheets matched her scenario exactly. So she had already made the decision what to do. It made it easier on me when it was time. She was injured on Saturday. She was in a coma. We waited for her best friend to get there the next day, and then we pulled the plug.
Yeah, she was on life support. You had to make a decision.
That's the only way she had a ventilator. That's the only way she was staying alive. So it was easier on me because she had already made the decision herself. I kept a binder, this big black thing, with lots of information on our assets, investments, property, people, I've got a spreadsheet in here, you won't be able to see it, but I'll just hold it up, that has, the attorney is first at the top, so that can be found. Then list of insurance policies, accounts, account numbers, list of credit cards, tax advisors, employers, physicians, details about ourselves and our property. On the assumption that I would have been the first to go, she hadn't handled any of the finances. So once a year, I would revise that spreadsheet, update accounts and anything else that needed to happen, and then I would call her into the office and show her where that was. That also then showed her how to access the password manager. Our estate plan didn't have a relative as the successor trustee, but a professional trust company, on the assumption that they would need to dole out the funds to her rather than her managing it herself, because we knew she wasn't good with money. Once she had died, there's a lot of details and deadlines to be taking care of things. And so again, being a little anal, I created a spreadsheet. Those who don't use computers get index cards, because you want to write down some things as you find out about them. Maybe go online and get some advice on what things you need to be doing right away. And then I kept this white binder full of things that as I completed it, so as I closed an account, I put the information into the binder. As I did each step, as I identified set up the cremation and all these different things that had to be done immediately because the hospital had to know what to do, all that information went into the binder. I put little creative post-its that were tabs so I could see what each thing in there was and could go to it quickly. And then just before this meeting, I had gone through, and I was able to toss out some things because they were old news. They were a year old now. They've been done. I don't need to worry about it. But I'm still keeping some things in there because I don't know what could come back to bite me later. So preparation ahead of time, yeah, as Brett said, we don't like to talk about death, but it's going to happen, so do some of these things ahead of time, collaborate on it, come up with a plan, be in agreement on what your approach is, and then kind of think about it again once a year so that you have got your ducks in order, so to speak.
Thank you, Tom. So what advice would you give to anyone here in the audience who is currently going through a similar transition? They've lost someone recently, or it may even be longer and still grieving.
Keep doing stuff. I think we see so often where one spouse passes away and the other dies in a year or so. Yes, I can understand you've been married for 50, 60 years, and that's the center of your universe. I think in my case, and if, as I suggested before, find some things to do on your own while you are married, so that in my case, my transition was relatively easy because I was already doing a lot of things on my own. And if you're doing everything together, find ways to do things on your own. Get out and do stuff. It may be not easy. I'm relatively shy, so I don't go up to people and make friends quickly. But for instance, if I go on a cruise, I sit at a share table where other people aren't all together. In one case, some ships have a poker table. I like to play poker, so there's some socialization. I still work, so I meet with clients. Still find ways to be out and about doing stuff with other people.
Thank you, Tom. David, what advice would you give to anyone in the audience who's dealing with grief, they've lost a spouse or another loved one? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I mentioned before is just, don't rush the grieving process. Just accept it and move with it, and if you follow the other advice being given here, you'll work your way through it. And I was reading an article about how bad feelings or emotions can actually be a good thing, good for you. And the metaphor they used was that when you place your hand on a hot stove, that is a good feeling. Because it tells you to take your hand off the stove.
A bad feeling, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and it related that to being lonely. So when you're lonely, that's a good feeling. It's telling you, don't be lonely. And so that's why I reached out, and the part of it is just communicating with other people. And I found that social media and texting really doesn't work for me. I have to have feedback, so that's why I enjoy phone conversations, but more importantly, I enjoy talking to people face to face, because then you can get body language, you see their eyes, you hear the intonation of their voices, and really understand if you're communicating at all. And the last thing I think is just, if your spouse has some legacy, like mine did, of being caring and compassionate, is just carry on that legacy. And one additional group that I like to thank for is the AARP. Because through them, I have more social interaction. We have a walk and talk that I go to, as well as beanbag baseball.
I hear that can get quite competitive.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We root for each other, but there's some trash talking.
All very good and healthy. Thank you, David. Bill, you get the last words. What advice would you give?
Volunteer. That's all. Find something you like, volunteer. You're doing good for the community, you'll feel great. You'll meet the best people in the world.
Thank you. Very well said. Help others. So you all have a handout. I just want to make sure on the rear side of the handout you look at that, because there's some great resources listed that these gentlemen helped provide, as did our education partners. So when you have a moment, just take time to look at that. I just didn't want people skipping over and not realising it there. If it's grief support, there's a great resource there, and Rebecca in a moment, she's going to talk about that. There's some very good helpful books and some other organisations there for volunteering that the gentleman spoke about. So yeah, just take a moment to look at that. I think you would find that worthwhile. If you have a question for our panellists, so if we could just please keep it to questions, no comments or experiences, just because we don't have a lot of time. If you have a question you would like to ask of Tom, David or Bill, please raise your hand and one of the mic runners will come to you. Yes, Rebecca.
Morning. So the question is, having lived through your spouse's death, what has that changed with regards to what you're looking forward to, and how are you going to prepare for your own eventual death?
Who would like to take that, if any?
I will.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, so I start. Well, not only the death of my spouse prompted this, but the fact that I have terminal cancer is motivating me to be more open with my family, and setting up expectations and getting documentations in order, so it'll be less of a burden for them, and to make this transition when I pass away. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, David. Tom, you had?
I'm going to add a little. Since my wife's death was sudden, it was obvious that she had not planned on that happening. And I think she was doing what she wanted to do. And I think it's important that we do stuff. Enjoy life. Find something that makes you happy most of the time. You know, life gets in the way, but still, there's lots that you can do that makes whatever time you have enjoyable, so that when something happens to you, at least you've made your life on earth worthwhile. And as Bill has said, volunteering, that's helping other people, doing things for others. My job is helping other people. So find ways to do both of those things, help other people and do something for yourself.
Thank you, Tom.
Over here. My question is for Tom. You mentioned that there were certain time frames that you had to get things done, different deadlines. How did you find out about those?
Well, certainly the first one was mandated by the hospital. Had to tell them where to send her remains. And so that meant I had to chase down a funeral home. And I had certainly not prepared for that at all. So that was one of the things. If there's insurance policies, you need to start the process. You need to let the insurance company know, your homeowner's insurance company, your auto insurance company, the DMV. As you go through that process, I did go online, and I think I found some things which I then copied into a spreadsheet, and every time I tripped across something else that I found I needed to get done, I'd make sure I put it on the spreadsheet, and then I'd sort them by priority. And that's why I say, if you don't use computers, get the index cards, so that way you can add something easily, and you can sort them so that you're making sure you're focusing on your priorities rather than something that's not needed now when you forget something because you didn't focus on it. Did that?
Thank you. Do we have another question on this side? Side's good. One down the front here, Rebecca. We've got probably time for 2 questions. Is there anyone else on this side? Okay, and then that'll be our last one.
Bill, you said something about a group, Our Gang or something. What was that group, and how do you get in touch with it?
The group got started with the puppy. The group got started with a puppy park I go to all the time.
A little closer, Bill.
Yeah. By the way, puppies have a way of filling the house and ruining your rugs and all the rest of that stuff. But there are somebody to talk to. But that was, that particular thing, you'll need someone that's familiar with messaging and can do group messages, okay? There you go. And so when Hidden Valley, I had that big flood, and so we didn't have a place to go. So then someone started a group with all the people they knew with their puppies and told them where the newest place was and when they'd be there so that everybody would get that information, okay? And so then as we were sitting there, we said, I was talking to another lady who their husband had passed away, and she said, I'd love to do all kinds of things. I don't have anybody to do them with. I said, well, let's do what we do for the puppy park. Let's just get everybody that wants to be in line to know what to do. We'll set up a group messaging, and then someone says, I want to go such and such a place, such and such a night, or I want to go here to eat, this and that, and someone else from that group or the whole group could respond to you. So there's your wingman right there, okay? So I'll help you get into ours, but what's better is to get one with people that you know and whatever it is that you like to spend some time with, okay? It's an easy thing to do. It's one way to use the internet selectively, and hopefully they can't barrage you with commercials and all the rest of the crap we have to put up with. But it's good because you can either answer one person in the group, and here I'm talking like I know what I'm doing. I didn't do any of this, and I still haven't been able to get anybody in the group. But there are, if she knows how to do it. So if you want to talk to me, then you go, you hit the group, and now you got Bill, and you say, Bill, would you like to do this? Or you can ask the whole group to go.
So Bill's going to hang around at the end if you want to find out more one-on-one.
It's a great thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Just one last question here.
Yes, thank you. I lost my wife to brain cancer 2 years ago. And I'd just like to thank the panelists for their comments, and I would second their comments and echo that with my experience. But there's a couple of points that I'd like to point out that they didn't mention, and I'd like to see if it played a role in their grieving process as well. And that is, how much did faith and the belief in God and prayer help you along your grieving process? I personally feel that the Lord is the place that we should turn to. And then the other is that I'm blessed that I have such support from my family and friends, and near and far, from the support they've given me in my grieving process.
Thank you so much. Just before, if I could just keep everyone seated, could our education partners head out to their tables? Remember, they've got some special handouts, which I'll bring up again in a moment, to be sure you collect on the way out. And could I just have us all thank the courage and the honesty and the sharing from our panelists as they make their way out? Thank you so much, Tom, Bill, David, for sharing with us.